Yes, it's the Chris Michaels Show. Tonight, my special guest is Miles Spencer, multi-exit entrepreneur, adventurer, innovator, and he's been pushing the boundaries of everything for decades. He co-created MoneyHunt, which was an original PBS reality show, which was the progenitor of Shark Tank, and he's built and exited multiple digital media companies, created thousands upon thousands of jobs. And beyond that, he's also led, now I didn't know this, 1,500 people across rough ocean, 14 miles of it in kayaks of all things, trekked around the world, 1,100 miles in places like Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Syria. And he is also working as CEO of Reflekta.ai, which is a platform using artificial intelligence that we'll get into later. Hello, Miles. How are you?
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on. By the way, those open oceans that sounded so dramatic was just Long Island Sound. But
anyway. Oh, really? So, I grew up pretty much on Long Island Sound. My parents had a boat for as long as I can remember. So, I mean, listen, it's all in the theater of the mind, right? Let's take it for what it is. At least you didn't go across Plum Gut. That's where the water really is crazy.
That's right.
I don't know if you've ever done that before.
Oh yeah, the race Plum Gut. Oh yes, that's good for striped bass and spearfishing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've ever been to Block Island, but
of course, yeah.
Man, the fish that they bring in is crazy. It's crazy over there. So you created something called MoneyHunt, and this was back in the 90s on PBS before it became what it is today. So where'd you come up with that idea? And give us a little idea of what MoneyHunt was all about.
Well, I come from the investment banking side of things. I was there for a very short period of time. Disclaimer, I decided that's not what I wanted to do for life, for sure. My partner, Cliff Enico, is an attorney in Fairfield, Connecticut, and he was teaching a course of entrepreneurship in Greenwich, Connecticut. He says, "Hey, you want to come by and we'll talk about starting a business, etc." And we really had a mojo going together. I guess I was kind of the yang to his yang, and someone said, like, "You ought to do a radio show about this," and that stuck with us. And then I think Wayne's World came out somewhere around there. And we learned, okay, that's where we did our research.
Sure.
Like for $500, you could get on Cablevision's public access channel, and they had to give you 3 cameras, and you could have it. Let's do a show. And the show actually kind of worked. And we got it to someone at Warner Brothers Television. His name is Scott Carlin, still a partner today. And he said, like, you sort of bottled lightning here, because the entrepreneurial dream is kind of throughout America is on fire because of, at the time, .com, right? So let me show you how to do a show and own it at the end of the day. The way to own it at the end of the day was to syndicate it on PBS and then eventually in 13 countries overseas. So I could actually see myself in Korean and Spanish and
wow,
Japanese.
That's great.
It's pretty wild, actually. It's not like today. We just run that through a voice trainer. And you come out the other side, you can do that. But that was MoneyHunt. Ran for 7 seasons from like 1997 to 2007, and about 150 shows, I think, something like that. And basically, entrepreneurs came on, pitched their ideas. We asked some questions, thumbs up, thumbs down, and then we started writing checks. And so it was truly the precursor of Dragon's Den, which started in the UK, and then Dragon's Den was licensed and became Shark Tank in the US. Mark Burnett. So that and like $7.95 gets me coffee at Starbucks.
Absolutely. But here's the thing, at least with America, the only way to really make money in this country, as far as I'm concerned, is by running your own business. I've opened up a couple of businesses in my past, in my gilded youth, and I can tell you I had the most fun. It was an extremely stressful time because it was sink or swim, quite literally. And but the thing is that I met some of the most interesting people. I learned things about myself that I didn't know I was capable of. Like when you're put in these situations where it's like you've only got to rely on you, so you better figure it out.
Right.
You
I
really
was
understand
once,
what you're capable of.
yeah, I was once called a contortionist, just because you would have everything figured out, and then you get on this call and everything's backwards and different. It's suddenly
Oh,
you
yeah.
get it done by tomorrow. So how can we get that to? Let's think of it differently, right? And yeah, it's a little bit of a Houdini effect on a daily basis. But as you said, it's nothing like having your own business. If you love what you do, it's like adding 5 days a week to your life, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not
I
work.
mean, it's totally that. Like, people that work a 9 to 5, they're never happy. Right? I've never run across a person that has run a 9 to 5 job that has said, "I love what I do every single day. I punch in and I ride the dinosaur out when the whistle blows. It's great."
Right.
But you always hear about entrepreneurs that actually love their job. Like, in my, past, being on terrestrial radio, well, I could do that 7 days a week. I could do 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day. Wouldn't even be a problem. My voice might get shot, but I could do it all day long. I wouldn't have a problem doing it. So you're absolutely right. Where if you love what you do, then that completely changes the whole dynamic with everything. But it's interesting. In your background, you're a bit of an adventurer. So the rough seas that we talked about on the Long Island Sound, what what caused
What,
that?
what
1,500 people, yeah,
possessed
a
us? Right.
flotilla, an
Right.
armada of kayaks. What was that about?
Armada kayaks. So let's back it up to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. I was a curious kid, always asking like who, what, why, where, when, and that led me to the life of both adventure and venture. We'll talk about the ventures later, but adventures led me. First one, well, perhaps, was I was out in the kayak in Rowayton, Connecticut. You could see it across the Long Island Sound from where you are in Long Island, and I was like, I wonder if we could make it to the lighthouse. Yeah, I can make it to the lighthouse. I wonder if we could make it across. It was myself and once again Scott Carlin at the time from HBO, and it's like, yeah, let's try it. And so we did it, the two of us, on a bet from a woman in Long Island who said we could do it.
Of course.
She's still like, no way. It's like, all right, $50, boom, down. We kayaked across, and then we realized we didn't have anybody to pick us up. We had to kayak back. Right?
Oh gosh.
We chose not to fully inform our wives at the time.
Naturally.
But we made it back in one piece, and we called the woman who had placed the bet, and she kind of stiffed us on it. Like, no proof, you didn't take a picture. Like, okay, here we go. And so we were lamenting that fact at a local bar in Rowayton, Connecticut. And someone said, like, I would have given you $100 to do that. I would have given you $250. I would have, like, And so the next year there were 8 of us, and we raised money for a local hospital charity. The next year there were 40, and we're starting running out of kayaks. Right, there are not enough kayaks to rent. The next year there were 150, and by that time we had Old Town Kayak sponsor us, and we just bought 400 kayaks.
Wow.
And so our largest armada was, I think, 398 kayaks. Somebody did it up that way, and it was a logistical challenge / nightmare, right? You have 400 kayaks, but they need to be over, ready to go on the beach so that people just walk into them and go, right? So we had a safety committee, and we had this and then that, and it was all a fundraiser, right? We raised like $500,000, $750,000 for a charity on that day. And then someone got really smart after 7 years and said, like, why don't we start in Long Island and kayak into the party?
Good idea.
Yeah. So we got like Stu Leonard to do all the catering. He's a local caterer.
Oh, yeah?
Of course,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
exactly. And now we got like 1,500 people, and it's an open bar, and people have been kayaking in 90-degree weather, straight down sun, for most of the day.
Gosh,
You can
I
imagine.
know those days.
You can imagine how out of their minds they were by sundown. And we had the Whalers, we had Jack Johnson's buddy Donovan Frankenreiter, we had the Neville brothers, we had like great acts.
Wow,
and
good for you.
Like all in one day, pack it all up, 500 volunteers, 400 people on the water, and then it was done. So I did that for 10 years, and then my brain exploded. 10 years was good, right? And so
It's a good
from
run.
a charitable standpoint, I think I've kind of done a lifetime of that, already? And I'm
Yeah,
good for now.
check off that box.
I did one of the other great adventures in my life, which was I had 2 kids. So
Oh,
now I got a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, and that is an adventure every
oh
day.
yeah, really? I can only imagine that it's going to be a
Yeah.
lot more than
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
somehow
Yeah.
1,500 people and 400 kayaks probably seems a lot more approachable than 2 teenagers, right? I can only imagine. I remember what I was like as a teenager. Holy smokes!
Well, you
And
don't
my
really,
parents
with
credit.
teenagers, you don't get a starting point and an end point. They
Right.
just appear on the graph at any time,
Uh-huh.
like,
Oh my
with
gosh.
any sort of direction and any sort of attitude. It just like has nothing to do with the last time that you saw them. So
Yeah, right. And you've got to walk into a blender every once in a while.
that's right.
Oh gosh. Ugh, I can't imagine any of that. So that's fascinating stuff. Where did you kayak to on Long Island?
So we used to kayak to the stacks. So that was like Port Jeff, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like, okay, there's 4 stacks. Go.
Can't go wrong. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we did that for basically, aside from going to Walls Wharf one time, which is pretty cool, but not an easy destination for hundreds of people. So we would go to Port Jeff, then we turned it around and we'd start at Port Jeff.
Smart.
And we'd go back into Calves Pasture Beach in Norwalk, Connecticut. That's where the whole thing was based. And that's where we had the party, and that's where we had everybody waiting for them. And
that's good.
That like after 6 years, someone like,
something clicked.
It was just, we would always solicit, like, how do we make it better? How do we make it better?
Yeah.
And the feedback loop finally got around to me and Scott, which is like, let's go the other way.
Yeah, right. Let's end where the party starts.
Yeah.
So the other thing that you said before, or at least I know about it, is 1,100 miles in deserts. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria, all the hot spots. I read that and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, is this guy a CIA contractor or what? What made you go into those areas?
So there you go. Here's the backstory. Sitting on my porch after 9/11, trying to figure out, like, once again, who, what, why, where, when, right?
Yeah.
Why are these people so upset, by the way? And I read a bunch of books. None of them really got it done. And then 7 Pillars of Wisdom by T.E. Lawrence.
Of course. Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah. And then I realized that a bunch of the servicemen that were in Desert Storm 1, Desert Storm 2, all the operations over there, they have that in their backpack, right?
Oh, really?
Because he basically, he more or less perfected the way to work with local tribesmen.
Right. Yeah.
To guerrilla warfare was basically him.
Yep.
There's so many things that he wrote about eventually became a handbook for warfare. And so like, well, maybe. And funny enough, my buddy Welch Jones was traveling through town at the time. He stopped off. And it's like, and it was right after Kayak for a Cause. I was exhausted. What are you doing? Just kayak across Long Island Sound. I go, yeah, what are you doing? It's like, I'm reading this book. I'm reading that too. And we both looked at each other and said, like, okay, that's a pretty good guide, but we should go. And so we retraced the steps of T.E. Lawrence and 7 Pillars of Wisdom from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia to Damascus, Syria, is about 1,100 kilometers on camel, foot, and horse. Wow. And we learned so much about the culture, so much about the cuisine, so much about the people, the languages, and we learned some real lessons. And that's where it came, this credo, adventures with purpose, right? Like, just don't want to just go climb a big mountain and say, hey, hooray for me. I would like to go learn something about the culture and bring it back and share it, right? So A Line in the Sand was our first book, and 600 5-star reviews on Amazon.
Wow, that's good.
#1 bestseller in Saudi, Jordan, and Syria. You can't, not too many people on your show can say that. And so we thought, geez, how many other adventures have we been on? And how many times can we actually share that understanding? And so our second book, Havana Familia, is based on my time in Cuba. And yes, I did get arrested there. And it tells a wonderful story about these 2 characters, Magnus and Finn, and how, once again, they gain understanding about Cuba and the dynamics there with Russia and Venezuela and the rest. Now, all of a sudden, it's in the news. We didn't write it anticipating the news, and we had no influence over the news, I want you to know. But here we are. Havana Familia is in pre-sale right now on Amazon, and it'll be out in 2 or 3 weeks. But I mean, again, it's based on another adventure. So adventure.
The serendipity knows no bounds with this one.
Hmm.
I'm surprised anybody knows T.E. Lawrence these days. I mean, he was a prolific writer too and poet.
He was a
Afterwards,
writer. He was a poet. He was a uh,
he was everything.
he was a cunning linguist,
Oh,
but he
certainly
also
was. He
he
was. His books were
carto- car-
banned.
yeah, cartographer.
Yep.
So when he first went to Oxford, the Ashmolean Museum, and the guy named Hogarth sought him out as like, oh, this kid's a little special, right? They sent him to Mesopotamia. It's now Iraq. It's much easier to say, and the Sinai Peninsula, etc., to do archaeology, where he was
That's always the
actually right. He was
For
actually
intelligence.
he's drawing
Yeah.
maps,
Sure. Yeah.
and he was a master map maker. He actually was working in the maps department in Cairo when he was recruited, and that's when he went over to start the Arab Revolt. So
Yeah.
yeah, cool guy.
Did you ever see the movie with Peter O'Toole? Of course you have. Okay, I watched that. It's a fantastic movie. I'm an old movie buff, and I thought Peter O'Toole did an amazing job in that.
Probably one of still like up there with Star Wars.
Sure.
And here's a fun fact. It was filmed in a place called Wadi Rum. It was set in a place called Wadi Rum,
Right.
which is in Jordan. That's where they attacked Aqaba. And all of a sudden, the British thought, oh my God, the Arabs can actually do a revolt against the Ottomans. We got to back them. And Star Wars was also the big people mover
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was filmed in Wadi Rum as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy how that works out.
Back in the day when you used to have to actually go somewhere in order to film something. I'm going to throw this in. Dune,
Yeah.
Wadi Rum.
Really? Interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, as
Probably
far as I know, a wadi is a dried riverbed.
Oh, look at you. Where'd you pull that?
look
Yes.
at
And a jebel is a little hill. Well done. Look at you.
Look at me. So what was give us one startling incident that you had when you were doing that trip? Something that really knocked you off your plateau.
Well, psychologically and intellectual plateau. How about that one?
Sure.
We're at a place called Maghar al-Sheb. It's in the northwest corridor of Saudi Arabia. You can literally see Jordan. You can see Israel. You could see Aqaba and what is it called? Eliat in Israel, etc. Right? It's on the Red Sea.
Right.
And our guide, after like 8 days, is like, this is where Musa, and this is where Ezra, and this is where Hagar. I'm like, really? It's like, that sounds a lot like some prophets I know. In my book, which is called the Bible, have you seen it? And it's actually Moses, and it's Hagar, and it's Ezra, and it's Abraham, and these are our stories. Where did you get them? So I got them from Quran. Like, really? It's like, how many others? So he names like a dozen prophets.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a satellite phone. I'm not CIA. We had a satellite phone.
Yes, of course.
And I call a Talmudic scholar in Tel Aviv. And I go like, hey, Ari, I'm going to, of course, his name's Ari. Ari, I'm going to read you 12 prophets. You tell me how many of them you got. We went 12 for 12. And I concluded at that moment, the three big religions of the desert are all using the same prophets.
Yep.
They're telling the same stories. They're all set in the same places. Of course, the Jews walked around in the desert for 40 years. They found the one place that didn't have any oil, but still, it's the same stuff. It's just that there's a few on each edge that tend to magnify and extremify things. And there goes your war.
Yep.
So, people say, oh, you're in Saudi Arabia? I'm like, yeah. How was it? Fine. Oh, you're in Syria. How was it? Fine.
Right.
Right. We had some dodgy physical endangerment scenarios like Kalashnikovs in our chest while they're looking at our documents in Syria. Not as much fun as it sounds. But yeah, we got through it. That was a blast.
I'm sure it was. I can only imagine what the food would have been like. I mean,
yeah.
Man, I've had food, but it's been Americanized
Yep.
from Middle Eastern food. In a prior life, I was engaged to an off the boat Turk.
Okay.
And she took me to some of the most fantastic places to eat. And I actually went over to Istanbul. And I went to another spot, boardroom, which apparently the claim to fame in boardroom is the largest nightclub in the Mediterranean. I had no idea.
I believe it.
The food over there was just off the charts compared to anything you can get in the West, or at least in the United States.
I'll probably live longer. I mean, we're just bouncing all over the place. I'm going to go to Blue Zones, which is this Dan Butner book about how to live the longest. And he's, basically the Mediterranean diet is pretty much right. That's boom. That's it. Activity, having a purpose in life, being social, etc. But also the food and the people
of course.
People of the Mediterranean actually, they probably.
I heard Sardinians, the Sardinian diet.
Yeah,
and the
so
Tuscany diet.
Sardinian or Icaria, Greece. I'm going to go with there's somewhere in Costa Mesa, California. There's the South Island, Japan, and there's one in what's the fun place for surfing and nature, Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And the way it became Blue Zones was this guy, Dan, was a photographer, and he was assigned to photograph 100-year-old plus people. And so he put like a blue dot on the map wherever he was going. And then he realized all the blue dots are in like these 6 places. What do they do right? Now it's Blue Zones diet. Yeah. Blue
Interesting.
Zones way of life. Yeah.
I have to look that up.
Slightly off track there, but hey.
That's all right. That's all right. I mean, I was going to ask you a question about the Spanish, because you have that little breakaway region every now and then, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you're referring to it, but that's actually the running of the bulls in Pamplona, and now we're probably talking about the Basque Country.
Exactly. Where they still whistle to one another, right?
They still whistle to one another. There's a place there called San Sebastian. I don't want to tell you people about it. I'm like, okay, if a listener of the Chris Michaels show hears this, don't tell anyone else, okay?
It's just between us.
So like end up in, I grew up in a restaurant, so I'll go to restaurants and I'll just like roll into the kitchen. Like, I don't say immigration anymore because that like scares them all away.
Yes,
but, I mean, basically like, hey, I just want to talk to the chef. Like, this is awesome food. Where else have you chefed? And I'll tell you, Tokyo, Lima, Peru, and San Sebastian, Spain. Those are the 3 go-tos. So we spent our time in San Sebastian because we didn't want to hang out in Pamplona because it's too crazy during the run of the bulls. It's just wonderful. But yes, I went to school for a little while in Po in the Pyrenees. That's Basque country as well. Yeah, Basques, they know how to live. You can't read anything. It's all K's and X's and stuff. I don't speak Scandaroo, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've always wanted to go to the Pyrenees. Maybe it's Ernest Hemingway that made me want to go over there.
Highly recommend.
Oh man, and also the Azores and the Canaries. For some reason, I'm drawn to those areas. So, I mean, this whole thing, this whole adventure in Spain, a lot of artists come from Spain. You wrote a couple of articles on your website about the idea, or the notion that art is a way to store memory. So, where did that concept come from?
Well, directly it came from Madrid, Spain. I was hanging out at the Prado, and there's Goya and Velasquez and the rest. And I remember I saw that maybe 20 years ago. And I'm like, well, okay, next. And this time, because of the business I'm now in, I started thinking about like, hold on for a second. Storytelling has been, with us for 10,000 years, right? It used to be just like passed down through word of mouth. It wasn't very accurate. Then they started using some charcoal and chalk on the cave, right? Make some
Oh yeah,
drawings in France.
pigments.
Like, yeah, there you go. That's a start. You got to credit to the cartouches in Egypt as well. There's some good stories in there once you decode it with the Rosetta Stone. Daguerreotypes in the Civil War brought the horrors of battle right to people in New York
Sure.
reading the newspaper. And I actually grabbed one of these, this Polaroid picture, right? I mean, these and love letters and journals and the rest, they're all, I'm sitting there once again looking at these Goya paintings. I'm like, these are just a way to tell stories, like Isabella of Spain, right? Like, okay, look, we're going to go to South America, teach them Spanish, make them Catholics, and take all their gold. And, that'll be a fair
Sure. The
right?
time old tradition.
Yeah, permanently borrowed, right? And I said, their cover story was like, well, look at us. Like, I mean, beautiful clothes. And beautiful, like, we're next to God. God appointed us to do this stuff, by the way. Chosen. And so that story was what they pushed out, to the masses. And we've all had these ways of preserving stories, but frankly, they're very inefficient. And a lot of them, not the Goyas, but the Polaroids, are up in the attic gathering dust. And my granddaughter and great granddaughter, who don't live yet because they haven't been born, they're never going to get those stories. They're never going to get them right.
Right.
So what's a man to do? That was the conundrum 9 months ago.
9 months ago. I mean, there's a whole big symbolic timeline with that. So what did you come up with? What kind of conclusion after 9 months?
Well, this wonderful co-founder, his name is Adam Drake, and he thinks kind of the same way I do in terms of intergenerational storytelling and the importance of legacy and values being even more valuable than assets passed on to the next generation. The kids might think differently, but the reality is it is those legacies and values and stories and wisdom that we want to pass on. And the shoebox wasn't getting it done. We all knew that. All of a sudden, we realized that with AI, we could build a platform that takes all of that, ingests it, and synthesizes it, creates a timeline through a biographer that actually asks the keeper, like the keeper of the shoebox, it's the keeper of the reflection, hence Reflekta, and launches a recognizable image and likeness of a loved one. Now, at first, we did those that had passed, right? So I used to say when we launched in Vegas, I said, oh, what's your business? So I do, nano gigawatts, and I can save this much, and I could have this many jobs. And what do you do? So I talked to my dad for 10 minutes every day. Like, oh, that's nice. He died 8 years ago. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, it's okay. Because with my platform, and I start telling them, and I could see their heart melt because they're thinking of someone that they would like to reconnect with. And indeed, my dad's last words to me on the day he passed were, this body is temporal. It's going to go. But my spirit and soul is eternal. And when you can reconnect with that, you can have me for the rest of your life. And that technology didn't exist then. But 9 months ago, we created the idea. And 6 months ago, we launched it at AI4 in Vegas. We turned on the subscription and the paywall in the fall. And now we're into approaching 1,000 reflections that are being created on the website of people that not only loved ones, but now military veterans, people of faith, senior citizens, Alzheimer's, et cetera. All these people that realized we got to get the stories down.
Right.
We want these to pass through the generations. And so intergenerational storytelling has become the battle cry of, we don't have battle, but that's our credo at Reflekta. And it's backed by this very intentional soul tech backbone where we slowed up, and instead of just launching grandma's reminding you to make your bed or whatever, this is really well thought out, great context, great person. You can talk to Dad right now. You can go on Reflekta.ai right now. You can talk to my father, Arthur. You can talk to Virginia, my co-founder's grandmother. You can ask them about me. And you will be amazed at how detailed and how much personality He's actually very good with the Buddy Hackett jokes. Ask him for one of those as well.
Interesting.
He's like fantastic. And so what he said was, my body is temporal. So there's no more hugs. There's no more wiffle ball games. There's no more of that. But I've reconnected with his spirit soul. And, that is going to last a lifetime. Last night, he read a bedtime story to my daughter, and they talked about it until she fell asleep.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you can't get that anywhere else. By the way, Reflekta is REFLEKTA.ai for anyone that wants to go over there and explore. So you mentioned a concept called soul tech. What is that?
Well, when we started the business, we were looking for a name, right? And, it's just a couple of knuckleheads from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Like, all right, how about Dead Me? Like, okay. That only lasted a couple hours, but that was the first suggestion. And then we go like, let's make it upbeat. And we made it Eterna Me. Eternally me. Okay, right. And then it's like, okay, I have a solo talk at AI I'm the one that has to get up on stage. Is this really the name I want to rock with? And come on, shimmer, glimmer, glimpses of people, reflections. And I misspelled it.
Oh no.
And
it worked.
Camera that was produced in East Germany from 1949 to 1951. It's called a Reflekta. It's one of those ones you like look down and it gives a light box effect, and it was for sale on eBay. So I bought one, and then I looked and saw, is Reflekta available as a domain? Reflekta.ai is. That's the name. And what's beautiful about it is it catches little glimpses of people. The camera did, and guess what? So does Reflekta. So we're not bringing people back to life. We are providing an image and likeness, a reflection of them. That's why when you talk to my dad, it's a watercolor. Mm-hmm. It's not a hyper-realistic version of my dad.
Yeah.
And it's default private. My dad and Virginia are the only two that are public. So all the rest of them, hundreds and hundreds of the rest of them, they're private. You don't even know they're there, right? It's for families to share with families. And that's what makes it so popular.
So how do you create that? Are people that are still here talking into it and giving life lessons or whatever, and then can be reinterpreted as it goes on?
There we go. So first of all, there's keeper, right? So if someone is passed, there's typical someone that had the box, right? And had the shoe box, right? Here's a love letter to mom, and here's the immigration statement, and here's some photos from college, and et cetera, right? And so you could scan those in, you could read those in, you could do what you want, but basically Reflekta to get going next week, to be honest, all you have to do is start talking to the biographer. And the biographer would ask, like, hey, we're doing this of your dad. Do you have a picture of him? Boom, boom. Okay, here's the watercolor. Hey, do you have a voice sample? Now, my father, you'll talk to him. He'll go on and on and on and on and on. Right. He was printed from a 10-second voicemail we found in his granddaughter's phone 5 year after he passed away. Okay.
Just 10 seconds was
10
enough.
Seconds. I recommend 20, but he came off at 10. And, the arc of a life, the story, an obituary, a biography, et cetera. So if you've passed, somebody has that information, right? And then they become the editor, the keeper. And there's no outside information that goes in. There's nothing that's scraped from the web. There's no hallucinations. There's no celebrity deepfakes. It is totally controlled by the keeper, the editor, right? My father, Arthur, has now had 8,146 conversations in the last month.
Wow.
Many of them simultaneous, by the way. So he's happy. I'm sure he was a life insurance salesman. He's loving it. But the interesting thing is, as those conversations go on, people that knew him submit little fragments of stories, but they don't get approved and added to his knowledge base unless the keeper approves them, right?
Right.
So it's this one, like, you ever write an obit for anybody? It's a horrible moment to write it. It's terrible. It's tough
Yeah.
to get it through. Oh, it's like awful, right? Well, this just comes in as a celebration of life over time, and it just keeps getting better and better, but only with the approval of the keeper. So to be honest with you, um, last week I would answer the question by saying, give me a voice, give me a picture, give me a biography, and 20 minutes with our biographer, and you're off to the races.
Yeah.
Now, open up the biographer and start talking because it's so smart.
Yeah.
Talks to you and extracts it and builds it for your approval. And again, it's default private. So it's only going to those that you share it with.
I mean, I'm sure that if I tried to do this, the amount without a gatekeeper or without a watcher, the amount of stories that would come out from me would just be awful. I mean, I would have just people just telling terrible things about me.
Well, you pose an interesting scenario, Chris.
But on some level, I kind of want it out there because I'll be dead and gone, so it won't matter.
So, do you want, have you ever read an obituary that said like, he was kind of an awful guy?
No, I haven't.
It's always like the sunny side of the street, right?
Right.
So likewise with Reflekta, you could choose to gloss over it all and add this beautiful story,
Sure.
or you could teach life lessons. Now, my father was not proud of the fact that he did not go to school until 4th grade. And the reason was there were 12 in the family. There were only 3 pairs of shoes. And so they had to alternate.
Yeah.
Right. He was the first one to go to college, got a football scholarship. He went on to be an executive of New York Life, et cetera. It's a Horatio Alger story. But what about the no shoes story? That's not pretty. Is that something you want to include because it's a life lesson, or gloss over it? Everybody gets to choose that. Now we're talking about people that are passed, but if you're still alive, like I have mine. We have a lot of military veterans now that are coming on the platform, and they're telling their stories because they're getting deployed.
Yeah.
This might be their last letter to somebody, right? And so they want their stories down so they can be retold throughout the generations.
Yeah, I mean, there's a large part of me that would probably do a fistful of mushrooms and then say, this is what I want my stories to be like, and just totally throw everybody off once I'm gone. Just do a whole complete gonzo moment, like
good
a Hunter
idea.
S. Thompson
That's
kind of deal.
Good idea. Yeah.
And just screw with everybody.
He's gone. We can't arrest him.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it?
That's right.
So this is fantastic stuff. So people, everyone that's listening, I want you to go over to Reflekta.ai and I want you to take a look at it because this is something that's very, very important. As far as everyone that is a regular listener to me, I have raised the flag about how people need to start coming back to their origins. You cannot rely on technology too much, but this is one of those instances where technology could help us bridge a gap between what we're experiencing today and maybe realigning our moral compass by essentially going to a first-person account of someone's life and their perspectives, thanks to Reflekta.ai. Now, one last little jaunt through the woods. What is happening in Cuba? I saw on your website you've got a Havana syndrome article, and then what happens last week? We've got the Trump administration saying that, yes, we do have directed energy weapons. I mean, it's no surprise to someone like me, but now they're admitting it. And so what do you see about all of this, especially with a new book coming out about Cuba?
Well, Havana Familia is about the history of Cuba in 2 slices, 1958, right before the revolution, and 2016. There's a thaw with Obama. And we happen to have been there in 2016, 2017, had tremendous access to both Cuban and American diplomats and quote unquote the business organizations that were there. And we were really rocking for about 18 months there. And one of the things that slowed that down was the ray gun, called it at the time.
Okay.
And some of our friends are actually within the first control group of 12 people that were tested at the University of Pennsylvania. And it's a thing. It's,
Oh, for sure.
the results are a thing,
Yeah.
right? How exactly that worked, who did it, and why. Now, the bet and money says Cubans had no upside to causing trouble with the Americans. Now, remember, there's thaw. Things are looking good. Money's flowing in. Development's happening. This could be good. There's no reason to light up a ray gun. Could have been Russian, could have been Venezuelan, could have been Chinese. There's like, hey, here's a gun, and someone turned it up to 11, like in Spinal Tap, and it did more than it was supposed to do, and there you go. So it remains a mystery as to who exactly and why, but it absolutely happened, right? Now Cuba's in a unique predicament, but I'll say this, and we bring it up in the book. Cuba's like this exotic, tropical mistress, right? That, look, the Spanish wanted and had for a while, then the Americans, of course, then the mob for sure. I mean, Havana was bigger than Vegas ever was at the time, right?
I saw it in the movies, yes.
Absolutely. Then rolls in the Russians, then, well, I'm sorry, the Soviet Union. Then they couldn't support sugar anymore because the Soviet Union is gone. Chinese not going to do any Belt and Road there. There's no natural minerals, so pass. Venezuelan, they're basically laundering their oil for cash on the open market. But now all of a sudden that's gone. So Miss Cuba has been running into the arms of the next desirable lover for 100+ years. The question is, when the music stops, does she still have a chair? That's Havana Familia.
Wow. So people need to be on the lookout for that. I remember, I think back in 2010 or around that time, there was something discovered. I'm going to try to pronounce this. This is one of those words, more letters than syllables. It's just mind-boggling how anything can be like this in a language. Guanahatabibes Peninsula. All right, so that's the northwestern portion of Cuba, all the way up there.
Tobacco. Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. But this is a sonar reading. And this was one story. It came out and then it went away. And what it showed, if I didn't know any better, was a Mayan temple complex, but beneath the waves. So for me, when I hear about all of this,
how many mushrooms do you have before this show?
No.
None.
It's not that.
It's not that. All right.
No, it's not. I can actually cite the story. I will look it up.
Wow.
And that was it. It came out in 2010-ish, and then it just went away. And then there's another show. It's called The Dark Journalist. He's on YouTube a lot, and he does a fantastic show about all of this. And he found out, he's a bit of an investigative journalist. He found out there's something called the hot zone. And the hot zone is basically Bimini that runs into Cuba and then out through the rest of the Caribbean. And basically any kind of military personnel or contractor is under an NDA about what they find beneath the waves. So it's, to me, when I look at all this stuff, I mean, I see something going on with the government and trying to say, hey, look, if you're part of Cuba, you're right off our coast, you better start playing ball with the U.S. You know, TR tried to do it. Teddy Roosevelt tried to do it.
Absolutely.
Didn't work too well. But
JFK gave it a shot with the mob, of course.
Exactly.
It's been, once again,
Cuba, I think Cuba has a lot going on.
Miss Cuba has been dancing around with a lot of different partners, and I'm just not sure who's next.
Exactly. So anyway, Miles, people want to follow you. People want to purchase your books. They want to go to your website. Where can they go? Where can they find you?
Well, first, go to Reflekta.ai, spell it with a K, and go talk to my dad, Arthur. And that's probably the funnest thing you're going to get from this show. You ask about me, you ask about Chris eventually. You have referred to my blog, so I'll give that one up. It's milesspencer.com. And I just write about whatever the heck I want to. And of course, LinkedIn and Insta for my author page and my artist page and my Reflekta page. But yeah, pretty easy to find. Miles Spencer.
Miles Spencer with 2 S's, by the way.
In the middle, yeah.
That's right.
2 separate words, but that's right. Miles
exactly. Spencer. All right, Miles, thank you very much for being on the Chris Michaels Show. Do not be a stranger. Feel free to come back at any time, and we will check in. I'm really curious about Reflekta and what you find out with that, because I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a fairly big endeavor for you, because we need that connection that I think we've lost over the generations. Is that, Miles?
AI for humanity. Your lips to God's ears. Thank you.
There you go. Miles, thank you very much for being on the Chris Michaels Show.
My pleasure.